In our first story, former COCOBOB Chief Executive Dr. Opuni will from March 23 be facing state prosecutors in the court over charges of causing financial loss to the state to the tune of some 2.1 billion Ghana cedis. Dr. Opuni is charged alongside the CEO of Agricult Ghana Limited, Alhaji Seidu Agogo, also the owner of the Class Media Group, said to have defrauded the state by false pretense in 3 contracts awarded him for the supply of fertilizers to cocoa farmers. The latest court action by the Attorney General brings to 2 the cases involving former top government officials who served under the past NDC government. Well, they dragged to court over various offences. There's more in the following report.
The former COCOBOB boss has since February 2017 been on the radar of officers of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO. In February 2017, Mr. Opuni's assets were frozen by YOCO, with sources within the office confirming a probe of all contracts entered during his tenure under scrutiny. In the build-up to the 2016 elections, some spokespersons of the then opposition MPP leveled various allegations against the COCOBOB CEO, claiming he had run down the cocoa sector through the award of questionable contracts. It therefore came as no surprise when barely a week after President Akufo-Addo was sworn in, Mr. Opuni was asked to proceed on leave, given only 24-hour notice to leave office. The charge sheet filed at the Accra High Court by Chief State Attorney Evelyn Kelson has CEO of Agricult Ghana Limited, Alhaji Seidu Agogo, and the former COCOBOB CEO slapped the 27 counts of various charges. They range from abatement of crime, namely defrauding by false pretense, willfully causing financial loss to the state, contravention of Public Procurement Act, corruption of public officer, money laundering, manufacturing of fertilizer without registration, and selling misbranded fertilizer. Alhaji Agongo's company, Agricult Ghana Limited, is also joined to the suit. The state claims from January 2014, Mr. Opuni conspired with Seidu Agongo and Agricult Ghana Limited to secure a 43.1 million Ghana cedis fertilizer contract, even though they were well aware the company was in no position to execute the contract. The 3 other contracts given out in the 3 farming seasons from 2014 to 2016 were also scrutinized. One of the contracts was worth 75.3 million cedis, which later ballooned to 98.9 million cedis. This brings the total amount of payment to 2.17 billion cedis in 3 years, sums paid by COCOBOB, which in 2016, according to the state. The 2 are expected to make their first appearance in court on March 23, where their pleas will be taken by the court.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, Sam George, has described as frivolous the charges brought against the former Chief Executive of COCOBOB, Dr. Opuni. He describes the suit as a deliberate attempt by government to shift focus from the board saga.
As usual, this is a government of distractions. This is a government that is engaged in shifting the goalpost. These charges against Dr. Opuni, as far as I'm aware and I'm concerned, are frivolous, would not stand in any competent court of jurisdiction. I mean, this is a government that is being saddled with daily accusations of gross incompetence and corruption. As we speak, the media is awash with the allegations of corruption at Bost, the umpteenth time of allegations of corruption at Bost, which the president has always brushed under the carpet because he's been warned by my colleague Member of Parliament, Honorable Kennedy Japan, that if he touches the gentleman at Bost, he's going to spill the beans. And so even with this allegation of the discounted sale of petroleum products, 1.8 million barrels of petroleum products to an unregistered company yet again, the president is actually not interested in it. And what do you see? You see them trying to deflect and move the attention of the Ghanaian people away from the hardship and the corruption of this government and file these frivolous charges against Dr. Opuni. I mean, the charges are whimsical, to say the least. You see, it is one thing to allege. It's taking them 15 months to be able to make an allegation. Let's see how long it will take them to prove the case in court. Because you see, Dr. Opuni has been one of the major targets of this government from the onset. They've tried him already in the media before even going to court. But as far as I'm concerned, this is yet another attempt to divert attention from the dwindling fortunes of this government in the cocoa sector.
The Right to Information Campaign Group has given government a 10-day ultimatum to quickly pass the bill or face their wrath. According to a member of the group, Samson Ladi Ayenini, the passage of the bill is long overdue and needs urgent attention. He also explains the bill is critical in the fight against corruption in Ghana. Ifwa Evans Chinri now reports.
It marks 22 years since the Right to Information draft bill was drafted under the auspices of the Institute of Economic Affairs in 1996. It also marks 16 years since the executive arm of government in 2002 drafted the first RTI bill. This draft executive bill was subsequently reviewed in 2003, 2005 and 2007, but was never laid in Parliament until February 5th, 2010. Since then, the RTI bill has witnessed a series of failed promises to pass it from both the government of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. In 2012, the 2010 RTI bill lapsed and was relayed in 2016. In the final days of the sit Parliament, an effort led by Alban Bagbin, the then majority leader, to pass the legislation was not successful after objections were raised by the then minority NPP. According to the Right to Information Action Campaign Group, the recent pronouncement by the President on the 6th of March 2018 that the RTI bill will be laid before Parliament and passed before Parliament rises marks a new round of assurances by the government to fulfill its own promise to pass the RTI bill into law. The group says they are disappointed and can no longer wait. Samson Ladi Ayenene is a member of the group. He says our democracy is meaningless without clear legislation that regulates access to information held by government and public sector offices.
We have been at this as a country for nearly 2 decades. That is the reason. That is the urgency. We have been at it for nearly 2 decades. What a shame that we want to pass a law that will give the citizens the right to ask questions about how leaders use their taxes. And that is so difficult to do. You want to pass a law that will allow citizens in a particular assembly to ask the question, why has this hospital not been finished after it was started how many years ago? To give the citizens the power to say, this road which was done in my community, the rains have come, the road has been washed away. What exactly happened? To give them this power, our governments have been running away. I don't get it. What do they have to hide? When they want to pass other laws, they pass them under certificate of what? Urgency. What else deserves urgency than the right to information?
According to the group, they expect the bill to be laid in Parliament before it goes on recess. Samson Ladia Yenene says the bill has to be passed sooner than later, or else the group will decide on its next line of action.
If there is any one single law that we have had sufficient time to work on, it is the Right to Information Law. It is the Right to Information Bill. It has gone through one parliament and gone through another parliament. The last parliament had to do certain amendments to it, a number of them, and they were done. So you can't get it any better than that. It is ripe. They don't even need to waste time to pass it. They should pass it. It's as simple as that. And if they don't, we will continue to mount this campaign. We want to believe that the president is a man of his word, and he will ensure that he will use the majority that he has to ensure that this is done. After 10 days, you will get to know what will happen. Yes. They won't like it. They shouldn't let us get there. The parliamentarians who are paid with our money and who don't want the citizens to be able to ask whether or not they have declared their assets, they should watch out.
If it is a law that is going to benefit people in power, I am sure that would...
And the Anti-Galamsey Task Force, the Operation Vanguard, says it will have no choice but to shoot and kill illegal miners if such orders are given to them. Squadron leader Opuni tells JoyNews at the moment they are only allowed to arrest illegal miners and seize their equipment and not kill them. The task force arrested some 7 Chinese and 20 Ghanaian illegal miners in Brofuyedru and Bremang in the central region this week. Well, large quantities of cyanide used by the miners for their illegal operations were also discovered in large quantities. Inchira FM's Ohimin Tewia has been speaking to the squadron leader of the Operation Vanguard team, Opuni.
From what our higher authority, that is the CDS and the IGP, have told us, we are not supposed to shoot and kill them. So until when we receive any other directives to shoot and kill them, then we will go ahead and shoot them and kill them.
Since you were outdoored, what are some of the successes you have chalked, and what are some of the difficulties you have faced as far as your work is concerned?
Since we were inserted into the operation, we have made about 1,104 arrests, and for the excavators we have about 186 which have been seized to the assemblies. But when we talk about excavators which have been immobilized, that's when we remove the control box and others. That one we have 280. When we talk about water pumping machines which has been immobilized or destroyed, we have done 836, and the ones we have seized is about 388. For vehicles, we have 64 vehicles, motorbikes 58. And when it comes to arms and ammunition, for arms, we have 94 arms have been seized, and the ammunition is about 2,270. And for dynamites, you know what dynamites can be used for, that one we have about 14.
The Africania Mission advocates for African traditional religion says it will sue President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo if plans to build a national cathedral materialize. At a news conference here in Accra, the group called the move by government to provide Christians a national monument a misplaced priority. They insist that government ought to pay attention to other pressing national issues rather than fuel what they described as religious divisiveness. There's more in this report.
The traditional religious body says President Akufo-Addo's resolve to build a national cathedral amounts to acting as a public relations officer for Christians in the country. National Youth Chairman of the Africania Mission, Fafafwa Agboji Sewunu, said the government's direct involvement in the construction process is not only unfair to all other religious sects in the country, but also promotes what they describe as a new form of colonialism.
Under the cover of Christianity, so many atrocities were committed against Africans. The deterioration of our cultural values today can be blamed on Christianity. It is a big shame if after independence, African governments are still busily promoting colonial values, which were weapons the colonial masters used against us.
That's not all. The mission is outraged at the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs for organizing a Christian pilgrimage to Israel at a time when they say Ghana has numerous chieftaincy disputes begging for his attention.
We are totally not happy with the current Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs for his first flagship project of organizing and funding so-called Ghanaian Christians to Israel. Meanwhile, we are faced with a lot of chieftaincy disputes. Chieftaincy institutions, when handled well, can catalyze the development agenda of Ghana.
For his part, the third spiritual leader of the mission, Osafo Okonfo Achu Gova, said the unavailability of a national cathedral is not the biggest problem facing the country. Hence, the construction of a national cathedral will only open the floodgates for similar demands by religious groups.
If we must go back to pick the very weapon that they use against us, will it benefit us? And another point is that is national cathedral the biggest problem for Ghana. We know how there are some schools without a school building. So should we use that money for building a national cathedral? Now, after building national cathedral, will the government build a national shrine for the traditional believers also? If we are moving like this, when shall we solve our problems?
The mission intends to take legal actions against the president should he fail to heed their calls not to construct a national cathedral. Charity Emil Bartels, Joy News, Accra.